for all victims of domestic violence.
Dog can't be quiet.
Thank you all so much for coming, for your continued support of Safe in Hunterdon, and for survivors of domestic violence.
Couldn't do it without these guys. You're staying on the longest.
Of our community. As we stand here in solidarity against racism, we would be remiss if we did not acknowledge that we stand on stolen land. We respectfully acknowledge that Flemington Borough occupies the land in Lenape-Hoking, the traditional expropriated territory of the Lenape peoples. As the Flemington QTs, we recognize and support the sovereignty of New Jersey's 3 state-recognized tribes, the Ramapo Lenape, Natticoke Lenni Lenape, and Powhatan Lenape nations. We recognize the sovereign nations of the Lenape diaspora everywhere in North America, as well as other indigenous individuals and communities now residing in New Jersey. By offering this land acknowledgement, we commit to addressing the historical legacies of indigenous dispossession and dismantling the practices of erasure that exist today. We recognize the resilience and persistence of contemporary indigenous communities and their role in educating us all about justice, equity, and stewardship of the land throughout generations. Today you will hear from several speakers who are just people like you and me. I'm just a random person who decided that I cared and that I wanted to do something for this community and build us all up together. You will hear from several speakers from the Hunterdon County Racism Coalition on general issues of racism in our country, the history of discrimination against Black, Brown, and Indigenous peoples, as well as some of the issues that we face here locally. You will also hear from several people who work in the community and also in the districts in several schools in Hunterdon County to talk about the issues that we face in public education in terms of book banning, parental rights movements, and the exclusion of any sort of materials or discussions about LGBTQIA people and other historically excluded groups. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Daryl Lamont Jenkins, or would like to have Elliot read a quick poem first. So why don't you come on up, Elliot. Elliot is the co-founder of the Flemington QTs. He's going to read a poem.
Hi everyone, if you don't know me, I'm Elliot. I use he, him pronouns. And if you are subscribed to our newsletter, you'll know I like to close out every newsletter with a poem because the arts are just as important way to combat racism, violence, hate as standing up here and speaking today. So this is a poem by a trans poet by the name of Jonah Welch. They use they, them pronouns. And it is called Prayer for Trans Existence. May trans people spontaneously emerge throughout all times, throughout all countries, throughout all spaces, forever and always, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day, and may we flourish now until the hour of our death. Amen. And I'm going to turn it over to Gerald now. Thank you.
Thank you. How's everybody feeling today? I sound good today. Nice to see everybody here. Even though the clouds are coming out, we're going to keep that rain back. We're going to be the storm today. It's going to be us. My name is Lamont Jenkins. I'm the founder and executive director of One People's Project, an anti-fascist organization based out of New Brunswick, New Jersey. My pronouns are he, him, and I love saying that whenever I'm online because that keeps the trolls away because they hate talking to anybody that uses pronouns. Which means they don't know the meaning of respect, number one, and two, they're cowards. And this is one of the things you have to understand about the folks that we're fighting. Rain is coming. We'll deal with it. The problem that we have right now is an old one. But we thought we were handling it. We are handling it, as a matter of fact. The fact that we have to go through this again to try to reinforce the facts that we are all one people. We are all people who demand our rights, equality, and justice. The fact that we have to do it is nothing more than eternal vigilance. Every generation has to handle this. And the fact of the matter is, we are probably able to handle it more than past generations. I saw the Harvey Milk quote on the table over there. Think about what they were going through during his time. You know, today it's a little twisted because now we have all these folks that we have thought that we had suppressed. The fascists, the Nazis, the Klan are in Congress now. They've always been in Congress, but they're open about it now. It's kind of like what we're dealing with today is their Hail Mary. Because they know they're going to lose this. Because they know that this is not, their direction is not the direction that we want to go as a people. So the fact of the matter is, all we got to do is just continue to maintain. Like I said, we're the storm that's coming. You know, whenever you're getting married in June and it rains, it's supposed to be good luck. So, so this is just God wishing us luck. And the truth of the matter is, we are all concerned about our communities, no matter where you are. And the only thing, and the thing that we are fighting are various right-wing think tanks in D.C. trying to dictate to us here how we are all going to function. When you go to these school boards and you hear all these activists out there trying to say that they're defending parents and all that, they're leaving some parents out, but when they do that, counter them. Run for office. I understand that we have a school board candidate here. Support that candidate. Make sure that the schools are being represented by the right people. They are not the right people. They have an agenda that does not fit what the community wants. The community does not want hate. The community does not want division. So we will keep it away from them. The only way we're going to have a division is when we divide our community from that scum. That's how this is going to work. That's how we go forward. So I wanted to just say hi. I wanted to just say we're here for you. One People's Project has been around for about 20 years, over 20 years. We basically go around and chase neo-Nazis around, neo-fascists around, right-wingers around. Okay, I'm being a little redundant. And try to ruin their lives. As a matter of fact, we have ruined their lives. That's why they call me everything but a child of God. If you can find us at onepeoplesproject.com, idavox.com, and it'll help you understand who we are, and really help us understand who we all are. Because in the end, we are all about working together, being about advancing our society and building from the foundations that we create right here. So no matter what it is that you hear from the right, remember, it's all rhetoric. They are only talking about what you're doing. Remember, they talk, we do. Yeah. This is our community, this is our state, and this is not going to be taken away from anybody that puts their time in. That's it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
But it's still good because we're all smiling. Everybody seems to be standing their ground. My name is Rasheen Matthews. My friends and family call me Rock, and I'm very happy to have been invited here to speak on behalf of the group. My background is I'm an entrepreneur. I've been a nerd in the technical field for about 27 years. And in that time, I've worked for more than a few Fortune 100 companies where I've seen a disparity of race, but we won't get into that. That's not really the point. I have been for 20 years married to a Caucasian woman, which is not really relevant other than that's where I speak from when I speak to the subject of race. I, more than many people, know that there is really no distinction of race or gender. My son happens to be trans as well, coincidentally. Martin Luther King Jr. said, when I was young, I first heard this speech, the only way that we can defeat hate is with love. And at the time that I heard it, it infuriated me because I did not agree with it. I find it difficult to believe that when people are setting dogs on you and shooting you in the street, that you should make an effort to love them when they're showing so much hate to you. It took me a great many years to understand what it is that he meant. A little aside, I don't know what your level of scientific understanding is, but I will give you this. You can cut steel with water. It's called a CNC machine. You can buy one and you can put sheets of steel in it and you can cut it with water because the pressure of the water is so great that it will press through the steel. That means consistency always overcomes resistance. The people who want to diminish our beliefs and diminish our right to exist and to believe in whatever we believe will always do what they've done, and they must do it because it is their nature to do it. I've read a scientific study where they took animals into a field, lions, gazelles, giraffes, zebras, and what have you, and they released them all into the field at random. And an unusual thing took place. All the giraffes, regardless of when they were released, went to be with the giraffes. All the lions, regardless of when they were released in what order, went to be with the lions. Everyone has a natural tendency to gravitate to their own. Any animal that doesn't have the conscious understanding of what it is and how it differs from others will gravitate to whatever is most like itself. That is not anything that anyone should feel bad about. It's nature. However, when you're an intelligent creature such as we are, we should know that we are more alike than we are different. We all eat, we all sleep, we all have the same issues. When you cut us all, we bleed. What makes us not understand these things is a lack of knowledge and fear, and that is why they're trying what they're trying with the schools. Every culture since antiquity had the same way of conquest. The first thing they would do is burn the libraries when they took over another culture, to erase the history of the people they were conquering so that they can tell them who and what they were, because they didn't know what they were once their history was destroyed. We cannot allow these people to take over the educational system in this country. It cannot be allowed. Now, again, I'm just the IT guy, but I know a little bit about psychology, and here's what I know. When it comes to psychology, on the concept of trying to convince people to change their way of thinking, unless you are unaware with this, I'll teach you quickly and then I'll close. I'm going to talk about con men, and that may seem like an odd thing to discuss at this time, but it is important. A con man is an abbreviation of the term confidence man. What a confidence man does is he convinces you that what he wants you to do, you actually want to do it yourself, and it's a benefit to you to do it. That way, he doesn't have to convince you to do anything, because he's convincing you that what he wants you to do is actually your idea. It is your desire. That is how we defeat these people. We explain to them and we display to them and we show to them that all of this diversity is a benefit to mankind, because it is. Animals separate, people come together. Am I wrong or right? Okay. People can understand that what is a poisonous reservoir to one is a poisonous reservoir to us all, is it not? What meteor falls from the sky and destroys the earth destroys us all, does it not? To the best of my understanding, COVID affected everyone. Yes. No one was left out. I know of not a single person who didn't get sick from COVID, no matter what their nationality or sexual orientation is. We live or die together. And the only way we're going to survive is to find solutions to the real problems of society and stop being concerned about what people do behind closed doors or what color the skin that they're wrapped in, because there are bigger issues to deal with than that. Yes. Point that out to them. Let them know what I do is not your problem. It's not up to you. It has nothing to do with you. Who I marry is none of your business. Where I live is irrelevant to you. We have to help to convince these people and not let them take over the educational system and diminish the truth that there is wisdom, there is intelligence, and there is strength in our numbers, that we work together and move forward, that we study science and spirituality and religion to find out who and what we really are. Not just what we look like or who we choose to live as, but what we are, so that we can become the best version of that and move forward as a species. I don't believe that there's such a thing as, well, his race is African American, or her race is Italian, or this person's race. There is only one human race. In all of the research that I've done, I have not been able to find anything but one human race. Preference of sexuality, national origin, none of that matters. We have to be aware that there's an old saying, when they came for my neighbors, I did nothing. And then another neighbor, when they came for them, they did nothing. But when there was no one less and they came for me, there was no one to help me. We cannot allow these things to take place, because it's only a matter of time before those who are evil and wicked and want to control and manipulate and destroy peace in our society take hold and destroy each and every one of us, regardless of what our sexual orientation is or nationality. So thank you all for coming. I encourage you to stay your course, to remain open about everything that you know nothing about, have curiosity and compassion for things that you don't know anything about. Learn, because wherein that strength lies is what you know. Your body doesn't matter. Your brain is what's relevant. Okay? Thank you for your time.
My name is Alexa Offenhauer. I am one of the co-founders and one of the members of the steering committee of the Hunterdon County Anti-Racism Coalition, and I'm really honored to be here, to be asked to speak. I do have business cards with our email address on them that I, of course, forgot at home. So I will just tell you, if you remember Hunterdon County Anti-Racism Coalition, you can find us on Facebook. You can join our group if you're not already a member. I do recognize some faces here. And we sort of exist in that online space, and we also hold monthly meetings. And I'll just say a little bit about why it is so important in Hunterdon County, a place that is historically not diverse. I grew up in Frenchtown in the 1980s, where I would say diversity at that time and that place often felt like who's Catholic versus who's Protestant. We're in a very different world at this point, and a very different county at this point. And when we first founded the Anti-Racism Coalition, we sometimes heard that it wasn't necessary in this area because we didn't have issues in this area. And of course, what we felt was that just because there isn't necessarily a lot of diversity of faces, and that this was more true just 10 years ago than it is now, doesn't mean that A, that that's by accident, and B, that the issues don't still exist. And we've seen over the years since we have existed that in fact events happen all the time that we are responding to. We're also educating ourselves in times when the events are not as immediate, but we have time to lay the groundwork for our own understanding. And we've also seen and talked more and more about, and Jay has helped us talk more and more about, the intersectionality of these issues. So we know that when it comes to the book bannings and the attempted book bannings and the issues in the Board of Ed, in Hunterdon County specifically, that has really looked a lot like the banning primarily, or the attempted banning of LGBTQ materials and books written by and about LGBTQ characters, but we also know that these same groups all over the country are sometimes emphasizing one, they're sometimes emphasizing racism, they're sometimes emphasizing their hatred of sexual preference, I don't want to say preference actually, I want to say sexuality and orientation. So we are always working against the divide and conquer strategy of the various groups that are out there that are trying to make us feel like we are different from each other. We try to emphasize the ways that our differences are to be celebrated, and also the ways that we can come together within those differences and across those lines of differences and find the similarities and recognize the humanity in everyone. So if you're not a member, I encourage you to join. And thank you so much. And it's really important that these things happen, and I'm really glad to be here. So thank you.
Hi. My name's Karana Paleologo. I am an educator. I am a policy wonk. And I am an education researcher. I'm also a Hunterdon County native. I grew up in Lebanon Township. I went to Valley View. I went to Woodglen. I graduated from Voorhees in 2007. I left. I left because it didn't feel safe here for me. And you know, I went off, I did my life, went to college, I went to grad school, I did all the things. And during the pandemic, I came back to be closer to my family. And during that time, I was a teacher. I taught for 10 years. I taught middle school, and I watched it getting better, right? I watched kids being allowed to be themselves. I watched kids not be bullied for being LGBTQ. And then when I came back here and found a lot of my friends had moved back, and we're all queer, so that happened in the meantime. And I was so excited to see pride flags around the county. I was so excited to meet other queer folk who were, you know, excited to be out here. We deserve to be out here, right? It's beautiful, it's a nice place to live, and we deserve to be here. And so now in my research, what I look at is legislation and policy related to LGBTQ youth in schools. And it's been really disheartening to watch what has been going on. And it's nothing new, right? It's all the same rhetoric that they've been using, you know, the same rhetoric that Anita Bryant used in the 70s, the same things that they're saying over and over and over again. None of it's new. But it's scary that it's being codified. Over 300 anti-LGBTQ bills have been introduced across the country in state legislatures just this year. And that covers anything from, you know, bathroom bills to these parental rights bills that some of them actually require teachers to out their students, which is terrifying. Some of them establish that you don't have to use pronouns for students that they prefer. And sorry, it makes me really upset. And you know, it's based in this very real anxiety around the pandemic and around education that these extremists have manipulated in order to sorry, I'm like really nervous. You're doing great. That these extremists are manipulating to get people on their side, when really, when you look at it, what most people want is the same thing, right? Most people want their kids to be safe. People want their kids to get a good education, to be able to go on and live a happy life, right? And there really aren't that many differences between us. And so they've created this political wedge that does not need to be there. And as somebody who grew up out here, you know, for the most part, we disagree on political issues, but your neighbors are there for you, right? Like, I know, even though the guy across the street had a Trump sign up when I moved, I know if a tree falls in my yard, he's gonna come help me clear it, right? And I think we've kind of lost sight of that because everything has become so extreme. So my hope is that we can get back to a place where we're coming at it from a mutual humanity, and we can appeal to other people's sense of compassion and their desire for a safe, loving, and helpful, supportive community. And we need that in our schools, and we need that in our community. So that's where I am coming from.